Morning, Christ Church. Welcome to the Christ Church Kids Parenting Gospel Parenting blog. We're continuing to talk about the doctrine of creation and what does those early chapters of the Bible have to teach us about how we raise children, how we understand our children, how we treat our children. And last week we began talking about how Genesis chapter 1 says that our children were made in the image of God, and how understanding that they were made in the image of God shapes how we treat them and how we raise them, how we nurture them. And of course, one of the important things in Genesis chapter 1 about humans being made in the image of God is that it says, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And so what the Bible teaches us is that an important thing for us to understand as we're raising our kids is that there is a distinction between boys and girls. Boys and girls are different. And if we're going to be raising boys and girls, we should be asking the questions, what is a boy for? Why does God make boys? What are they for? What's his intention with them? And what are girls for? What's his intention with them? And what is the distinction? Because actually this is an important thing in our culture to be thinking through, because in a biblical understanding of the world, there's a distinction between the creator and the creation. And the creator is the judge of the creation who distinguishes things in the creation for us. So the judge, the creator, God says, these things are good, these things are bad. You should do these things honor me, these things do not honor me. These things are beautiful and these things are ugly. Some things are true and some things are false, some things are lies. There's distinctions. And actually when you don't have this creator-creation distinction, as many people in our culture don't have, they would say that that God is the creation, God is the universe. Then there's no judge. There's nothing to make those distinctions, and so we don't know what the difference between good and bad is. We don't know what the difference between beautiful and ugly or true and false is. And as it turns out in our culture, we don't know the difference between a boy and a girl. And that's very common for people to say, really, besides their biology, there's nothing different between a boy and a girl, what they should do with their lives, their callings in their life, what God's made them for. But I think, of course, anyone who's had kids, who's had a boy and a girl, can just see in common sense that boys and girls are different. They're made differently, and they're made for different purposes, to do different things. Now, of course, they're both fully made in the image of God. They're equal in dignity and worth, value and meaning, significance to God. But they're different. I just actually, yesterday we were over at a friend's house, and my son Henry, he's 3, he was out playing in the yard, and all the kids are being nice, they're playing with the kids, and for a while all he did was he took this toy table and he'd pick it up and say, I'm gonna throw the table, and he'd go and pick it up and throw the table again. He's just throwing the table around. He's like, what are you going to do for fun? I'm going to throw a table around. I'll tell you, my girls have never done that. That's never came into their mind that throwing tables was a fun game to play, because they're girls and he's a boy, and boys understand. You say, yeah, throwing tables, that makes sense. Using your muscles, showing that you are the king of the table, that I have power of this table. And my girls, they're different. They change their clothes 20 times a day, and my sons have never done that. They've never shown any interest in that. Boys and girls are different. And so, but it is important that as we try to understand the difference between boys and girls, that the difference is biblically informed. Because there are a lot of unbiblical distinctions about what makes a boy or a man, and what makes a girl. And what I want to argue, we're going to look at boys and girls individually in the next couple posts, but in this post I just want to give an overview of the different, what a boy is for and what a girl is for. And what I want to argue is that the Bible teaches that boys, first of all, boys were made to die for others. That's a definition of what a man is. Men were made to die for others, whereas girls and women were made to live for others. Boys were made to die for others, and girls were made to live for others. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, boys were made to die for others, and what I mean by that is that boys were made to use their strength sacrificially for the good of others. Boys were made to use their strength sacrificially for the good of others. So actually, in the beginning, in Genesis, when Adam was made, the first man was made, he was put in this garden, and it says that the Lord God put him there to till and to guard. Actually, it often says to work and to keep the garden, but literally it's to till the garden and to guard the garden. And so he has this job that, first of all, he's going to go and he's going to use his muscles and his strength, and he's going to work, and he's going to till the ground. He's supposed to take this garden, which is a place where God comes and lives with them, and he's supposed to expand the garden to be the whole earth. So he's got to work, and he's going to give his strength away in order to offer the world and offer the garden back to God. And he's supposed to guard the garden. So, when talking snakes come into the garden, he's supposed to protect his wife, and so he's supposed to take the brunt of evil and harm that might come. It's supposed to land on him, and so he's supposed to be giving himself away. And actually, even in Genesis 2, it's very interesting. When you see the woman is being made, where does she come from? She comes from God coming to the man and cutting open his side and ripping a rib out. He's undergoing a death. He's dying. He's giving his strength away, sacrificially dying so that she might have life. And of course, this is a picture very early in the Bible of what the supreme man, the greater Adam, the Lord Jesus, what he would be, is his whole mission was to come and to die for others, to die for his bride, and to give his life away, use his strength sacrificially for the good of others. And that's the picture of what a man is. And so if men are dying to others, if they're giving themselves away, using their strength for others, that usually looks like that there is this element of risk, this element of sacrifice, and ultimately an element of independence. Independence and boys going out and making an impact. They're going out and using their strength to sacrificially give their life away for the good of others. And this should be shaping how we raise our boys and their understanding of who they are. And of course, I'm going to talk about what that looks like in a little more detail in our next post. But so boys were made to die for others, but girls, in contrast, were made to live for others. They were made to live for others. And of course, you see that in Genesis chapter 2, that says that it was not good for man to be alone. And so God made the woman for him. And so that her life was for his sake. It was directed towards him. It was directed towards relationship. And actually, so on the one hand, while a boy is made to go out and make an impact and to give his life away sacrificially, the woman, her focus is on relationships, towards building bonds, towards making connections, and which is important, right? Because you need both those things. You need men to go out and make an impact, to be independent, and to give their life away to work, and yet you need someone to come in and build roots and make connections and to build bonds. And so men and women work together with these different kind of callings. Now, it's important to say, someone's going to say, well, you don't think women are supposed to die for others? Aren't they supposed to be like Christ and give their lives away? And yes, of course, women are supposed to give their lives away. And of course, women want to make an impact. They want to go out and make an impact in the world, and to be independent and go out and take risks and give themselves away sacrificially. But that's not their first calling. Their first calling is towards building relationships. And of course, do they not care about relationships and building bonds? Of course they do. Men care deeply about building relationships. I look at my son, Will. He loves hugs and kisses and spending time together and guy time and building bonds. He cares about that. It's just not his first calling. His first calling is to go out and make an impact in the world and use his strength for the good of others. And so, as we understand these two things, this should shape how we raise our boys and girls, and for them to understand what their calling is in the world. In the next couple posts, I'm going to unpack each of those. What does it mean to be a boy, and how we should be raising our boys in a biblical fashion, and the same for girls. And I hope that this will be helpful. Thanks so much.